Alrighty, so what is urban planning and how can it affect you and your wallet? And a lot more about you. This on the left is good urban planning. Everything is closer, everything is actually reachable without having to use a car. And the right is terrible urban planning, where every single thing requires a car and there's so much wasted space here as well. Anyways, let's get to it. So what exactly is urban planning? Now, urban planning is the process of designing and managing the physical layout and development of cities, towns, and other urban areas. This might not seem like a big deal, but once you live it, then you'll see why it's a little bit more of a big deal. Or I could just give you the numbers of why it's such a big deal, and then you'll go, holy shit, this is crazy. I'm wasting so much money. Yeah, you are. Now, this means that land use, transportation systems, public spaces, and infrastructure, using all of these to improve the quality of life and to make social, economic, and the environment of the individual better. Now, although this might not sound like a really big deal on the surface, like for instance where you are, or maybe even how the place is designed itself, it doesn't just affect your social life, it affects way more. So what you learn from this video will be really valuable, but the problem is more so how can you apply it to your everyday life, because honestly applying this to your everyday life is really damn hard. Now, why does urban planning affect you? So urban planning affects more than just your social life, by the way. It affects how much money you spend for taxes. It affects how easy it is to get from one place to another. It doesn't just affect the whole commute time. It is a whole ton of things. So we'll just go through the list real quick. All the things that urban planning affects are your taxes and how they are used. It also kills the cost of living, by the way. It saves you commute time. How aesthetically pleasing it is to go outside. This is a little more important than you think. You'll only know this once you've experienced it. Once you've experienced the extremes, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It gives you an easier social life, and it makes having a social life effortless. It's dangerous to live in. Cars are death machines in some instances. In all instances, cars are death machines. This thing, like as an example, drunk driving, you could just completely eliminate the need for having a drunk person needing to get from their bar to the home and eliminate the car in between. Once you add the car, then you're adding all these drunk drivers. Just eliminate the car. The car isn't necessary. And it is less polluted. Yes, good urban planning anyways is less polluted. And that affects your health, by the way. Breathing. Like the air that you're breathing in, how good does that feel to breathe in, right? Now, in my personal experience, you can only truly notice it once you've lived it, and it's hard to see it otherwise. So if you've truly lived in good urban planning versus bad urban planning, you will know the difference. But you have to live in not just bad urban planning, like really bad urban planning, and you'll see what I mean. So how exactly does urban planning affect your taxes? Now, this is the major one. This is the major one because most likely you guys have not lived in good urban planning, like this city right here, which is Groningen, the Netherlands. I lived here, so I even know where this is actually, because I would bike here every now and then. I would bike across here every now and then, this bridge. So the thing is, this actually affects you a lot more than you think. Poor urban planning costs trillions of dollars in taxes. And yes, I mean trillions. And guess who's paying? That's right, you're the one paying. And this is assuming that you're living in the US. And the crazy part is poor urban planning is also this vicious cycle which forces constant expansion in order to fund its in it in the first place, which it's a bubble waiting to happen. It's another bubble. Oh my God, great. There's so many bubbles as it is. So many economic bubbles. Now there's another one. Now you might ask, how exactly is it trillions of dollars? Now a sample calculation will be provided in the next couple slides, and you can pause that if you want to see how it's done when I go over them and to see how the math is done. But it does add up to a trillion, about a trillion, 1 trillion, 1.08 trillion dollars. Now the fact is that this doesn't just affect your taxes, also, it kills the cost of living for you. Now, if you want to increase the cost of living, what better way to do it than to have really poor urban planning and tons of roads, which is what the United States has. Now, the worst part is changing this is honestly near impossible, since big companies have way too much of a say in all of this with lobbying and such. And if you're really interested in that video, you can go check out how government works and how power systems work. You'll see in that video how Citizens United, as one example, basically turned the United States from a democracy into more of an oligarchy or a plutocracy. So it's pretty messed up. But now, how exactly does urban planning cost you trillions of dollars? So this is the sample calculations. If you're all interested, I highlighted the end results towards the end. So we're already at 50 to 100 billion here. And then we have 575 billion per year, and then 205 billion, and then 250 billion. And then if we add all that up, we get to 1.08 trillion annually saved. And this is conservative estimates. If you were to scale this probably with the Netherlands, you would get to about 2.5 to 3 trillion annually saved, which is pretty crazy, huh? Yeah, anyways. So, yeah, and then, like I said here, if the U.S. had urban planning like Groningen in the Netherlands, it would save 2.5 to 3 trillion per year. And this is because the assumption of only 25% for most cases. In my previous calculations, we have to make some assumptions, right? And by the way, it's actually higher. This is actually way higher if you were to do like a better assumption, because this for instance, this number right here, if I remember correctly, yeah, this is actually, I assume urban sprawl, unused roads by urban sprawl is about 25%, even though realistically, based on physical audits, it's actually 35 to 50%, so it's even higher, right? So there's some assumptions that are being made throughout this entire thing. If you're, once again, if you're really interested, you could just pause all these slides when I'm going through them. Pause the slide, and just see how the calculations are done if you're really worried about that number. Now, once again, this is just assuming slight improvement, not large improvement. Now, the problem, though, with all of this is this probably won't happen, and it is because of the very large economic contributors. And you're probably wondering, who are you talking about? I'm talking about car insurance, automakers like Ford or Toyota, the oil and gas industry, construction and road building companies, suburban real estate developers, government agencies, and political lobbies. There are tons of businesses which will go bust or dramatically shrink if this is done. And they're not going to let that happen, which is exactly why they do all this lobbying and stuff. And if you're interested in how all that works, you can go check out how governments work and how power systems work. I have a video on that, so yeah. Now, how is urban planning saving or wasting your time? Now, good and effective urban planning will save you plenty of time every single day. Traffic will not exist, and you will never have to worry about that. This right here is rush hour. People spend, well, hours sometimes in rush hour, and it wastes a lot of their time sitting in a car doing nothing. Now, the thing is, all of these cars, what's funny, they only actually hold sometimes one person, maybe even two. And look at how much space they're taking up. They're taking up so much space. Now, if you just turn all these into bikes, which is what the Netherlands has basically done, this is the Netherlands. And as we can see here, this rush hour doesn't exist. This doesn't exist, okay? You have all these people who are on bikes, which, one, take up a lot less space, and two, they're a hell of a lot less dangerous. If you hit somebody with a car, they can die easily, especially if you T-bone them. Oh, dead. Or at the very least, you're causing some damage that's going to keep them in a hospital for a very, very long time. Whereas if you hit somebody with a bike, you might like scratch at the very most. You'll break an arm. It's rare, but at the very most, you might break an arm, and it's crazy. You have to experience it in order to know what it looks like, and you'll experience the difference, and you'll go, okay, there's clearly something wrong here in the United States, or in bad urban planning areas. This doesn't just apply to the United States. There's plenty of other areas which have bad urban planning. Now, bad urban planning looks like something having rush hour, where, once again, like I said before, people are stuck in traffic for hours, and you're wasting time in a car. doing nothing. Now, you will save so much time with good urban planning, and you won't be wasting hours upon hours or even adding up to days or years stuck in traffic or commuting all the time. Because some people commute, they spend 2 hours or 3 hours just to commute every single day, which is absurd. That's crazy to me, but regardless. Now, how does good urban planning help your mental? And this one might not seem like a big deal until you've seen the worst of the worst. Now, one good example of like really, really bad, seeing how bad it can get sometimes is India. Now, good urban planning looks a little bit more like this. It's clean. It's closer together, right? This India is like this giant road. It's this wall here, all this trash, right? Yeah, this doesn't really happen with good urban planning. Now, India, like I said before, is a little bit of a different problem, but to keep the bottom line simple, when you go outside in India, it's an unpleasant sight, and it's not something that anyone loves to walk around and to see, which is why India doesn't really have too many tourists, right? If they have any tourists, it's for like a really big world sort of amazing Taj Mahal, right? Oh, I'm going to see the Taj Mahal, right? But everything outside the Taj Mahal just looks like horrific, and nobody wants to be there. And you could just look it up, actually. Look at people going to India and seeing their travel, and they will tell you realistically, like, yeah, this place is shit, and it looks like shit, and smells terrible, and it looks really bad, and I don't want to be here. But the temples in India, they're completely clean, really nice, right? So it's still possible, but there's a lot of things that go into good urban planning. Now, good urban planning makes you enjoy going outside because the place you are living in, one, it looks nice, and the outside just looks nice, and you actually don't mind walking outside. You'll be very, very aware of this once you've lived on both ends of the spectrum. So if you've lived in a place like India, or if you've lived in a place like Groningen in the Netherlands, or if you've lived in Slovenia, Ljubljana, the town center as an example, like there are certain places that you have to live in order to see what good urban planning looks like. And once you see it, you go, oh, okay, there's clearly a difference here. This is why I like the place. If you've ever been to a place like this and you never really knew why you liked it, you just said, oh, it looks nice. It's because you like the urban planning. The urban planning looked nice. Now, how does urban planning affect your social life? Now, it's easy to see your friend or maybe someone you talk to and you get along with in good urban planning because they are only a short walk away, or to go hang out with them, you're more likely to do it, right? So A to B to C, right? Let's say you are located in A and you need to go to B. Well, it's only a walk away. It's really, maybe there's like what, 3 houses in between you, or 3 things in between you. It's easy to get to B or to get to C, right? But here, it's very difficult to get anywhere. Now, if someone you get along with is like 30 minutes or an hour away, especially by car, would you really drive 30 minutes or an hour every single day just to hang out with them and do stuff? Probably not. A lot less likely. Now, having a social life, sadly, it does matter. And being alone, especially as a human being for a very long enough time, will affect you mentally in some very unsettling ways. I think some examples of this are kids or young adults in the United States, especially. You can see this, I think, in a lot of instances, like violence in school, maybe. Like all that, the violence in school occurring, and then all of them afterwards saying, oh, that kid was always like a little weird. He always just kept to himself, right? Yeah, that sort of a thing. It's because it's hard to see anybody else sometimes. Now, how good urban planning is less dangerous, much less dangerous. Now, it might not seem like it, but good urban planning would actually affect how dangerous the place is, and surprise, surprise, cars are death machines. This thing is a death machine. I mean, Jesus, just imagine sitting in this. Like, this is a DUI, by the way. Just imagine sitting in this. Like, this sort of stuff could happen to, this car could have crashed into you. This car could be the one you're in because you're trying to get from place to place and you're drunk or whatever, or you're under the influence of something, right? People forget this, but cars, just like guns, can inflict a lot of damage. A drunk person with a gun is a disaster waiting to happen, just like a drunk person with a car. That's right, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Good urban planning prevents this mistake from even happening in the first place, and reducing the use of cars prevents these life or death accidents from occurring. So this right here is Groningen, once again, a place that I've been in. And if you see somebody drunk on a bike and they fall over, they're not going to die like this, okay? They're not at the chance of potential death. They might fall down and hit and like at most break an arm or break a leg, but usually that doesn't even happen. I mean, you could see in Groningen a drunk person on a bike and them falling over. It's just like funny. It doesn't even look like they hurt themselves that much. They just like fell on their ass, right? It doesn't even, it's not as bad. And you're preventing tons of dangerous accidents. And by the way, no surprise, the US has plenty of under the influence cases because they are supposed to get from one place to another without a car. How are they supposed to do this? The way everything is designed in the United States makes this problem inevitable. This drunk driving is bound to happen. It will continue to happen. It's impossible to get rid of because of the way the system is designed. Now, the only problem with this whole bad urban planning, and is actually this is more than the only problem. There's more than just this, but you can lose family members because of this. You could be on the receiving side or the causing side of this. You could lose a family member because they were the ones drunk driving, or you can lose a family member because a drunk driver crashed into them. I'm positive so many people have had this happen. Positive, absolutely certain. Now, how does urban planning affect pollution and air? Now, if you have ever been in a very polluted place like a city, in most cases, this pollution can be prevented in urban planning if the urban planning was better, and there are different methods of transportation and that they were feasible. Now, this is, once again, Groningen. Actually, I used to bike here all the time, which I'll get into eventually. In most cases, this doesn't happen, and you have cities which have very clearly visible pollution, as you can see right here. This giant cloud of smog, basically, which is very vile to even see. I mean, that's how much you can visit. Once you can visibly see it, then once you can visibly see anything, you sort of get a better gist of like, oh, okay, this is like a little bit messed up, or like you have a better understanding of it, right? Now, with good urban planning, this pollution does not occur. So public transportation, in Groningen, is possible. And that's because everything is so close together. And buses, there are buses everywhere. You can bike if you need to. You can take a bus if you need to. You can walk if you need to. I mean, it is so easy to get from place to place. And this, by the way, is this is what traffic looks like in Groningen. Now, imagine putting all of these people into cars, right? Now you can see how dramatically this would everybody would take up so much more space. So this right here is good urban planning. And this is, by the way, to go to the university. So I'm pretty sure these people are coming back from the university, because when I used to go to Rug over there, I think they're coming back from the university. Anyways, with good urban planning, this pollution doesn't occur because cars are not needed to get from one place to another in the city, and you can walk or bike, like I said before, or take the public transportation. It doesn't really matter. And that picture to the right is somewhere I used to bike, like I said, every day. Rug University, it's called, that's how they pronounce it over there, Rug, or you could just say Rug. And hundreds of thousands of people would bike there. I mean, there are so many people you would see bike every single day. Traffic does not exist, by the way, in Groningen. Or Groningen. It doesn't exist there. It's non-existent, and it's because of how easy it is to bike everywhere. It's so easy to bike everywhere. It's so nice. Now, what can you do with this information? Honestly, the problem is it's pretty hard to change the environment you're living in because of how government lobbying and companies which benefit on your behalf from the taxes and screwing you over and increasing the cost of living, and how they continue to promote the government to do this are. So, this is sad, but it's illegal for a special interest to give money to a politician, but it is legal for a special interest to give money to a lobbyist, a middleman of bribing, and then to give that money to the politician. Like, it's so ridiculous, but whatever. Now, try to find an area which is walkable to all the places and people you may visit. It's quite hard, if not impossible, by the way, to do this in the United States. But the shorter your commute time, the better. If you have the power to influence urban planning for some reason or another, then you can greatly improve your community in many ways, all of which I have mentioned before. This is once again, very easy to walk place. Everything is much more closer together, right? Just better. It's walkable, makes the outside environment more livable. Now, best case scenario, very, very best case scenario, move to a place that has good urban planning. Places with good urban planning are places you do not want to leave once you've lived there for a bit. You will not want to leave a place with good urban planning. You will be like, oh my God, I'm going to miss this place. You're going to tell yourself ahead of time. You're going to know that you're going to have to leave it, and you're going to tell yourself you're going to miss it because it has such good urban planning. The place is designed so well. There's so much to do there as well. It's just good. It's easy to get from place to place. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys found the video helpful or informative. If you did, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. It really does help the channel grow. If you want to see more videos like this, once again, let me know down in the comments below. I plan on making as many videos as I can to teach tons of different information because I don't want to stick with just one topic. I want to try to teach all of it because I think it's really important to know all of this information because maybe, just maybe, if enough people know this information, there might actually be able to be change for the better. So yeah. And also to sort of replace the current education system because I think that's quite poor. Hopefully my channel does that. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe it does. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it valuable, and I'll see you guys in the next one.